It only took me, what, 6 months to create a travel log zine from my trip to Europe? Hopefully it was worth the wait. And hello, everyone. It's Tom. It's FANzine Live. We are doing the Phoenix Spotlight today. I've got another new zine that I want to share with you, and that is FANzine 3 called Street Art. This is an interesting one because for those who have been living under a rock, you probably haven't heard that over last summer I went to Europe, Central Europe, and had a chance to tour through Vienna, Budapest, Bratislava, Prague, Dresden, and then up to Berlin. And I had wanted to do a travel log zine of some sort and hadn't really figured out what and how to do it. And then it kind of hit me when I was looking at my photos. I took a lot of photos of street art. And so what I tried to do here, and this is a copy of FANzine 3 Street Art. And actually, here, I'll read this to you. I put it on the back. Summer 2024, my trip to Central Europe as my son's chaperone turned into a revelatory experience as a zine creator. Amidst the history, the culture, the food, and the language was a story, the story of street art. Perhaps, just perhaps, that story is integral to the development of zine culture. This zine attempts to try to convey that story just as I experienced it. So, FANzine 3, Street Art. Now, this is a picture of me from 2018, but it was at the U.S. Air Force Museum in Dayton, Ohio, and it was the first experience I ever had with seeing a piece of the Berlin Wall up close, and you can see the artwork on it already. And I look a heck of a lot younger. So what I'm trying to do here is share the story of my trip, but also talking about what it means in terms of street art. And by that, I mean largely what we would call graffiti. And even hit right from my first stop. And we went to Vienna first for my son's competition. And we went to this place called Bilderbox, and you can see there was comics, graffiti, and art books. And in the back of the store, there was this giant graffiti store there. And then you can see that I also hit a newsstand, and we saw they have a lot of Donald Duck comics and stuff. Bratislava, over in Slovakia, had this incredible piece of street art, and I was able to throw in a couple pictures there. The rest of Vienna, I didn't really get a ton of street art pictures, but we did go up this really interesting escalator up into what ended up being a public library that kind of oversaw the square. And on the way up, they had these different kind of cartoony type images that as you went up the escalator, you would see different ones. Then as you go down the escalator, you'd see others. And so I picked that up. Then on the Danube, we discovered, along the Danube going up to Prague, we noticed that you had a lot of little graffiti like this, like the stuff on the door there. And you had some really interesting art out on the street. You had some interesting posters, but you also had some wall art as well. And it seemed like the real street art, the stuff like you had in Vienna, I like that Goo Goo Gaga, or this stuff here in Bratislava, really was in the bigger cities. The smaller cities kind of have been able to keep the bigger pieces of street art to a minimum. And then I did I did a piece about the importance of these central squares in the cities and how they were able to help promote art. And you can see you've got exhibit from a museum, kind of attract people to come in, but also the artwork is on it. So even if you don't go to the museum, you can still see what's going on. And then you got the Soviet side of things. And I pulled out a piece from Prague, from Dresden, and again from Prague, in how they did street art with their murals, with their wall etchings and sculptures to send public messages of art along there. And then we got to Prague. And Prague is a very commercial town. And so they had a lot of really cool posters. And yeah, there was a place called Einstein Ristorante and Pizzeria, and apparently Einstein truly did work there slinging pizza in Prague. But I did get this. This is Zau, I think I pronounced it correctly, which is the zine shop in Prague. And you can see they had some graffiti on the building next to it, but you can see they even also had a little bit of street art on their own windows. But I did like this one because it was on a train underpass and had a picture of Salvador Dali painted. Then we went to Dresden up in Germany, and they had this incredible, in their public square, this incredible street fest, which was a combination of art and music and poetry readings and all this stuff. It was really cool. But there was this incredible wall mural, and this thing is done out of porcelain tile, and it goes on forever. And this is, as I understand it, the history of the different monarchs of the region. And I believe it's Saxony. Don't hold me to it, but I believe it's Saxony. And it's the different monarchs of the region over time. And they did a tribute to all of them. And this thing is like a block long. It is incredible. Then on the river, we had this wave that we saw. So that's the classic, what do we call it? The Great Wave off Kanagawa. There's a recreation there. And then we did get some street art with the train look there. Then on the way up to Berlin, the Dynamo Dresden, the soccer team for the football team up there in Dresden, their hooligans took over some underpasses in the backs of streets or of highway signs and stuff and put their logos on. So another interesting way to do art. This is just kind of a funny page because in Berlin, they have their crosswalks have the stop and go figures. Those actually were done in East Germany, in East Berlin. And it was found that people were getting hit by cars at an inordinate rate. And so they switched from the more traditional crosswalk figures to these guys. And apparently it sliced the number of people who got hit by cars significantly. So when East Germany and West Germany, when East Germany merged into West Germany, the West Germans said, well, we're going to go back to the normal crosswalks. And the East Germans blew a fuse saying, you've taken over so much of our country. Give us our crosswalk signs at least. And so the Ample Mansion, as they call it, actually survive. And then this is a picture of David Hasselhoff at the Ample Mansion store, because the Germans love the Hoff. They have a store where you can buy swag related to it. In fact, I've got an Ample Mansion rubber stamp of the green walk guy with a little piece of green ink. But anyway, we're into Berlin. So this is where it gets really interesting. And we did a couple tours in Berlin. There was a gentleman who did I want to say our first tour. And he took us through this whole area. It's called Revellerstrasse. More accurately, the neighborhood at the intersection of Revellerstrasse and Warschauer Strasse. And I'm probably pronouncing things wrong, but as you can see, it was kind of this old warehouse area that the beatniks took over in West Berlin, and they totally painted it up. And so now you're starting to see some incredible street art. And it goes on and on and on. And there are businesses in here. There are clubs, nightclubs in here. There are loft apartments in here, restaurants, everything. But it is the most surreal, crazy looking place you've ever seen. And it is just amazing. I love this particular one. I'm not even sure that this was in that area, but it was just another piece of street art. And I love how the whole thing was painted, and then you can see the tiers and the different colors of paint coming through. That's almost a pointillist type look. And maybe, here, I'm going to come up close with that. Looks like perhaps maybe single sprays of their can to do the pointillism, because there are slight drips coming off of each. Just incredible. Then there was a building here that was just totally smeared by street art of all sorts. And the thing I like about it is you can see there's this big wall, and then I found this one picture, and I apparently took it, I must have been struck by it, because I then took a closer up picture, and then I took this, and you can see that you've got all your punk rock stickers and all that other stuff, but in the middle of it are these incredible pieces of art. I mean, that is just fabulous. So I found that really interesting. I like this one. Messing around with a Goethe picture, but they put something over the eyes to give the funny look and the funny smile. I like that. This one, these dogs, or probably hyenas, were relief. They were in 3D coming off the wall. And this one, of course, had a hyena with dollar signs all over it, so you can tell that they probably weren't the most happy with the capitalist state. Some cool posters. I love this Ghost in the Shell. Metropolis, of course, being a German film. They're doing a re-release of it, special showing. This was, I believe, this was an exhibit at a local museum. So this was at like a bus stop or something like that. Again, the art was everywhere in this town. Berlin really had it. There wasn't a ton of the communist era stuff left, but this one still was there from the former East Berlin. And as you can see, it had its decorating done, even up onto the piece itself. Some neat stuff on the walls, the full-size wall murals. Now, we have stuff like this in Columbus. I've seen a couple wall murals, but they're usually advertising. And in this case, I don't think these are advertisements. They're just incredible pieces of artwork. My son and I went to the Olympic Stadium where Jesse Owens got his 4 gold medals and basically screwed the Nazis out of a fantastic propaganda victory. But as you can see, going down to the U-Bahn, their subway station, you can see they had some street art, some graffiti along the way down there. This was a utility box in Berlin with advertising for a store called Modern Graphics. And then we got to the stuff about the wall, and most of the wall has been torn down, the Berlin Wall. However, there are significant pieces of it that still exist. This is a section of the wall showing exactly how the no man's land used to look, and there was a observation tower so you could look down and see what was in there. But then there's this place called the East Side Gallery, and it's 4,318 feet long. It's the longest span left of the Berlin Wall. And what they did was they turned it into an art museum, an open air, free to walk by art museum. And here's our guide, and he was explaining. Now we were on the other side of the wall here, and you can see that there was a lot of just graffiti type stuff. And there's the graffiti artists are still going strong in Berlin. I mean, we passed by a couple of them just spraying away. But what they did at this East Side Gallery was they invited artists from all over the world to come in and paint sections of the wall. And like this one person's out of Denver, Colorado, talking about the importance of tolerance. This one's about dancing to freedom. You would just walk through the wall. So this is the back side. You would walk through the wall and you would see these incredible pieces of artwork. And you can see there are cars just along the street as you're walking along, looking at the wall. And I just was so struck by all of this. But anyway, if you read all the text that's in this zine, you start to get a better understanding of how I think that this type of graffiti, the messaging that's sent, the stuff that happened, I'm going back to that neighborhood where things were kind of crazy. Yeah. There's a certain punk ethos. There's a certain nonconformist, wildly creative culture in Berlin especially. But also, as you could see, I showed you some stuff from the other communities where I think that kind of has permeated the zine culture. And I think that it kind of helped the zine culture take off. Yeah, that piece done by Gerald Scarf, who did The Wall for Pink Floyd. And these are just incredible pieces. Each one you could sit and stare at for like an hour. And of course, we didn't have time. So I literally was running from spot to spot, taking pictures and trying to keep up with the tour. But gosh, it was incredible. It was just incredible. The amazing artwork just all along this. So anyway, yeah, that's the stuff about my journey into the world of street art in Central Europe. This is a zine that you can purchase in PDF form at our Gumroad store. You can also purchase the hard copy, a paperback book. You can purchase that at the note in the show notes. And just for giggles, because I'd never done it before, I made a hardcover of this. Now, it costs a lot more, unfortunately, because that's how hardcovers are. But this is a print-on-demand hardcover. And I'm going to just point out, if you look at the difference in the paper quality, you can see that this paperback is a darker, thinner paper. This is pristine. So if you're interested in getting some fantastic photography, and I'm not saying I took fantastic photography, but the pictures, the artwork that's in here is just amazing. It's the same book. It's just done so much nicer. FANzine 3. You can get it either digital PDF, paperback, or hardcover. It was a lot of fun to do this trip. It was a lot of fun to share this story. I hope you take a look at it. That has been it. This is FANzine Live. This is Tom, the Phoenix Spotlight. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little trip into Central Europe, and I will catch you next time.